everyone, this is Ranger William from the Overmountain Victory National Historic Trail. I'm here at the Mountain Gateway Museum in Old Fort, North Carolina, talking about the patriot frontiersmen who traveled down the Overmountain Victory Trail in 1780 to fight at the Battle of Kings Mountain. Now, when these men were traveling across and through the Blue Ridge Mountains, they did not have supply wagons or really even pack horses to carry food supplies with them. They were only eating whatever they could find along the trail. Now, to try to figure out what were they eating and how much should they have been eating, I used a long distance through hiker calculator to try and figure out what kind of calories were they taking in and how much were they in the deficit. So thanks to some of the writings they left us, either in their pension applications after the war or after the war recollections, we're able to kind of learn what they were eating at different points of their journey. Now, using a long distance through hiker calculator, a hiker who was doing about a 14-hour day should be consuming about 6,000 calories a day, with rest days taking in about 12,000 calories for those. So what were they actually able to achieve? When the men first gathered at Sycamore Shoals, Tennessee, what's today Elizabethton, Tennessee, and began crossing the Blue Ridge, they talk about driving cattle with them and having ground corn from Matthew Talbot. So thinking, what could they make with this? The first dish that we have here is an example of some good steak and cornbread. Now, this meal together would be about 1,600 calories, a 1-pound ribeye and a 2-inch cube of cornbread. So today, that's an equivalent to about one Whopper, which is a pretty good meal when you're having a long day of hiking. Now, the second day of the march, however, the men realize they cannot drive the cattle with them. They turn them back and can only eat what they find. Some of the men talk about during the whole expedition, they say we got a few potatoes, but our principal ration were ears of corn, scorched in the fire or eaten raw. So 3 ears of corn here is going to only be about 375 calories, which is not a lot. It's maybe good for a meal or a good snack, but if this is all you have for the entire day of a 14-hour hike, this is really going to take its toll on you eventually. Now, other men talk about having even fewer rations. Joel Darcy of Georgia travels with a group of 30 men for 12 days to join this pursuit of Patrick Ferguson, to join the Overmountain men, and he said they only had 1 deer and tree nuts their entire time. So a ½ pound of roasted deer meat is about 357 calories. That's equivalent to maybe a medium French fry. And the tree nuts that they're having, maybe 2 ounces of acorns, is about 1 Snickers bar. So again, not a bad snack, but not great when you're traveling for 12 days through the rough mountains of the Blue Ridge. Now, the Battle of Kings Mountain was fought on October 7th, 1780. But after the battle, the men still have to get home with the same supply problems. One of the men talk about finding a sweet potato patch at a place called Waldron's Plantation. He says that not 1 in 50 of us had tasted food for the last 2 days and nights. And so the sweet potatoes they're finding are a very happy discovery. 1 pound of sweet potato here is going to be about the equivalent of 1 small curly fry. So again, not a bad snack, but if it's all you've had to eat in 3 days, you are really going to be feeling this. Now, the last example that we have comes from the later end of the march, October 15th. One of the men talks about thinking that green pumpkin, sliced and fried, was the sweetest eating he ever had, that they all came near starving to death. So using this long distance hiking calculator, what the calories should be for these guys and what this food would have been giving them, we believe that these men were actually in the deficit, in the negative, about 74,000 calories, or 20 to 21 pounds of fat. Now, this is going to lead to starvation side effects, the weakness, fatigue, hunger, but also psychological side effects of aggression and obsessive thinking. So perhaps this hurt the men as they were traveling down the trail to the Battle of Kings Mountain, but perhaps this gave them an advantage, giving them that little edge they needed to keep pushing, keep chasing, and win the battle at Kings Mountain.